I moved to Japan on September 2019, 4 months before the first case of COVID in the country. Now, when I moved, I was so excited because it was a new turning point for me and my wife. We were going to have a baby. At that time, we were staying with my wife's parents, and if you don't know much about Japanese houses, is that they are not very spacious. Like having two bathrooms is a luxury. Anyways, my baby was born and we were very excited for the future. I started a part-time job working at Eikaiwa schools. These schools were after school English classrooms, and the job was fun. It allowed me to go to different places, see Japan, and share my culture. Everything was great. Then around December, we started seeing the news about COVID. My family back in my country were kind of worried because I was so close to China, and so was my family in Japan. But it wasn't until February 2020 that things started to get real. There was a cruise ship that just reached the Yokohama port and it was quarantined for 2 weeks. Day by day, more cases of COVID were being found within the ship, and slowly it couldn't be contained. I can't say this cruise was the main reason for COVID in Japan, but it was all over the news. I even learned how to say COVID and state of emergency in Japanese because of how much it was broadcasted in the news. Shingata coronavirus and Kinkyu Jitai Sengen. Now, some of you might or might not remember that the 2020 Olympic Games were scheduled for that year in Tokyo. The excitement was out of this world. Japan was really looking forward to the Olympic Games and the wave of foreigners it would bring to the country. Because of this, they were very hesitant about declaring a state of emergency and closing the borders. All that investment that was poured for the Olympic Games would have been for nothing. In the end, on March, the Games were postponed, and on April 7, 2020, the government declared a state of emergency. As for many countries, the first quarter of 2020 was very grim. And it wasn't any different for me either, because my job required me to go to different locations and interacting in person with kids, and if you have kids, you know that they aren't the most hygienic. The company I was working stopped giving me assignments around March, so I kept emailing them and trying to call them, but there was no answer. At the end of the month, I told them I quit and started looking for something else. It took me 3 months to find a different job, and finally I landed a job teaching English at elementary schools. More kids in front of me that could potentially have COVID. Regardless, a lot of measures were taken at school. Students constantly were to wash their hands. Everyone had to take their temperature every morning before going to school, even the teachers. And if it was higher than 37 degrees Celsius, you had to go to the doctor. Everyone wore masks the whole day, and students were not allowed to talk during lunch. Now, you might think that this was a very serious environment, especially for kids, but the reality is that people got used to the new normal. Plus, in Japan, people are accustomed to wearing masks when they are sick, so the sight of someone wearing a mask was not surprising. Because I was the English teacher, I had to model pronunciation, and I had to wear a face shield. This is what they call it in Japan. But it's not a face on your it's not a shield on your face. There are two types. One, you may have seen some chefs wearing some kind of transparent mask when they are grilling some food in front of you. And the other is like wearing a sun visor cap, but instead there is a plastic film hanging in front of your face, hence the name face shield. Japan was on lockdown for 2 years. Tourists couldn't enter Japan, and during that time, to be completely honest with you, it was great. I know that sounds kind of bad because a lot of people died because of COVID, and I even got it, and it was terrible. I had to stop working for almost a month, but you could go to really famous tourist spots, and there were many people around. Restaurants were not full, you didn't have to wait a long time, and in general, trains were not as crowded. Me and my family went to Osaka, Kyoto, Kanagawa, and many other places, and we really have good memories. After the lockdown finished, I revisited the same spots I went during COVID, and it was not as pleasant because now there's an influx of tourists. I feel kinda guilty saying this, but I miss those COVID traveling in Japan days. If you found this video interesting, all I ask is a like. I plan to upload more videos next time about my experience in Japan. If you have any suggestions for future videos or topics in mind, leave a comment and I will read them all. Until then, bye bye.